So far we've had a bit of a focus on a bunch of different receptive skills, and we're now going to move on to some of the very first really important communication skills to developing your child. Now, obviously the end game of all of this sort of skill development and these early learning skills is to really give your child as much functional language as possible, because the more functional language you have, the happier and the more in control of your world you feel, which lowers a child's anxiety and generally makes them a happier, cleverer kid. So one of the very first things we can do to start promoting the use of functional language is something that's called yes or no for preference. And that sounds a bit silly, but it really is that simple. It's trying to get a child to consistently and appropriately say either yes or no for preference.
Or you can also indicate it on if you have a device, or you can do yes and no headwise, but obviously they'd have to be comfortable then with being able to express yes and no in those ways.
Yeah, non-verbal children 100% can express yes and no in an effective and consistent way. Head nods are good, or a device is great as well. Now, in this imaginary situation with Shelda, she absolutely loves this ball. I mean, why wouldn't you? It looks like a lot of fun. And really doesn't care that much about this piece of paper. Now, the way this would be delivered is you'd always have something that you know the child really wants. This drill often goes awry when you're trying to get a child to say yes to something they're not that into, so make sure they really want the thing you're offering them. And then it's really important that you know the no object is something they definitely aren't that interested in. So I'm going to start off by offering Shelda this ball, and this simple thing I'm going to say is, do you want this?
Yes.
Great work. Now, if a child hasn't developed the ability to consistently say yes yet, verbally, or do it through their head motion if they're non-verbal, that's something you can also work on in this drill. So if I was like to Shelda, as Shelda's non-verbal for instance, I'm like, do you want this? I know she wants this, so I'm going to prompt. And that falls back on that imitation skill that we learned earlier, and it shows you how that helps with prompting as we go through. If I'm doing it verbally, it'd be like, do you want this? I know she wants this. And I'm going to be like,
yes.
Good work. Okay. So that's something that is going to really help you out with a bunch of different communication situations around the home. It's like something that we take for granted, but it happens all the time. You ask your child, do you want this, do you want that? And some of us work with kids where often they default to no as well. And in this situation, Shelda definitely doesn't want this, so she's got to say no. So I'm like, Shelda, do you want this?
No.
Okay. Now, what happens if Shelda is starting to default to no, or accidentally gets it wrong, or for whatever reason, she gives the incorrect response to one of the objects I offer her? So I'm going to offer the thing I know she wants again, and I'm going to say, Shelda, do you want this?
No.
Well, I know she wants it, but that's too bad. She said no. And the direct consequence of her, giving me the incorrect response is she gets to see the power of her language. She said she didn't want it. Even though I know she does want it, I'm not going to give it to her for a period of time. I'm going to let things cool off, and then I'm going to issue it again. Shelda, do you want this?
Yes.
And then you would give it to her. In the same way, if you have an object you know for certain she doesn't want, and she gives you the incorrect response, Shelda, do you want this?
Yes.
Have fun. So that's there's a nice natural consequence built into that task that really starts to teach a child that, wow, my language has power. What I say can control the world around me.